Welcome to today's video. My name is Lindsay and I run the blog The Well-Rounded Teacher, where I give you tips, tricks, and ideas for living a more well-balanced life. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to can raspberry jam. I've heard from a lot of people that they're gardening now more than ever, looking for ways to purchase from local farms and also different CSA options. Many people are also looking for ways to become more self-sufficient, reduce their food budget, as well as just learning some of the skills that maybe have been lost with our generation. So I was very fortunate that my mom and grandma have taught me how to can. I am by no means an expert, but and there are many different ways to do canning. So let's get started. First up, let's go pick some raspberries. All right, well, now that we've picked all of the raspberries, you can see here, they're looking fantastic. So let's get the rest of our supplies and we'll get on with how to make this raspberry jam. I just wanted to go over a few of the supplies that you're going to need in order to make the raspberry jam to can. Of course, we already have our container of raspberries that were fresh picked this morning. I'm going to use this measuring cup in order to measure out my crushed berries. This is the heavy stock pot. I also have a spoon to be able to stir the jam. I'm going to use this to crush the berries. You could use a potato masher, you could use a whisk, you could use a fork. Some people run it through a grinder. Lots of different ways that you can do that. We've got some sugar that we're going to put into the jam. I have a saucepan that I'm going to use here in order to boil the lids before I put them onto the jars. So I have some canning lids and then some rings. If you're doing this for the first time, you're probably going to be purchasing brand new jars, which will come with the rings and lids. So that will save you the extra step there. This is the Pectin that I'm going to use today. I have not used this brand before. Normally I use Surgel or I think I've tried Ball before as well, but it was super expensive at the store that I went to. So we're gonna give this a try and see how it goes. This is the scoop that I'm gonna use for scooping the jam into the jars. You might wanna use a ladle or something like that. Probably use a spoon too, but a ladle really works best. We've got, almost forgot about this little guy. We're gonna need the funnel to help put the jam into the jar without making a big, huge mess everywhere. I've got a little guy to get the lids. It has a magnet on the end of it, so makes it super easy for being able to get the hot lids out of the pan after they've come to a boil. This is the tool that you'll use to grab the jars. If you're putting them into warm water, you would use them to put them into the canning water. Mostly you're gonna use this to take the jars out of the water after they're finished canning. You are going to want some jelly jars. These have already been cleaned and sterilized, so they're ready to go. And then I have a water bath canner that is electric. So it's just gonna sit on the countertop. If you're looking to get into canning in the long term, I would definitely think about getting an electric canner just because it really is nice and it saves on the wear and tear for your stove. It also has a drain over here so I can put it next to the sink and drain out all the water really easily. I just really have enjoyed it. So let's get on to our next step. Can I just say, I'm super impressed with those raspberries, and I might be a little bit biased since they came out of my backyard, and I'm pretty excited with how they turned out. You can use a lot of different recipes or a lot of different things. I am gonna keep it basic today. We'll stick with the recipe that is in the box of the Pectin. So I had already opened this up, but we'll just go ahead and open this up here. And then you'll notice we've got the recipe right here. So Pectin is used for a lot of different kinds of canning. You can use Pectin in jelly if you wanted to make jelly, and you can use Pectin to make your jam. So you'll notice that there are two different kinds of jam listed here. There's regular jam that's going to be going into the hot water canner, and then there's the freezer jam. My family hasn't ever really made freezer jam, and I think a big reason for that is because they live out in the country. So if we made freezer jam and power went out for an extended period of time, it's just one more thing that you have to worry about. Whereas if you've done your jam in the hot water bath, you don't have to worry about it going bad because it's shelf stable for quite a while. I noticed that this is the same recipe for blackberry, raspberry, boysenberry, and dewberries. So it tells you here exactly what to do. We've already got our berries, so we just need to crush them. And so the amount of fruit that we need here, we're going to need 8 cups of fruit, 5 cups prepared fruit. So I should have at least 8 cups here to start with, but once it's crushed, we're gonna need 5 cups of crushed fruit. And then we'll need 1 package of the pectin. We'll need 7 cups of sugar, which I've already measured out into the container. And we should get 8 to 9 cups of finished product. So we'll see how that goes. I changed my mind a little bit here. I'm going to actually put the berries into this bowl just because it'll be easier to crush them up a little bit and then measure them out using the measuring can. So, or the measuring cup, measuring can, oh my goodness. All right. So when I pick berries, I really try to pick pretty clean so that I won't have to do a lot of cleaning during this step. Raspberries really are not, you're not gonna wash them because they're so fragile that they'll just fall apart and it's not good. So that's why ideally you probably want to get organic, but since I grew these myself, I know that they are organic and I'm not worried about that. So I'm just looking to make sure I didn't have any little leaves or anything like that in there. All right, I'm gonna give myself enough room here to crush these. So I'm just gonna run this guy through here a little bit. I think it's actually used for grinding hamburger or chopping hamburger, but seems to do the trick in this case. All right, so you can see here it's really going down a lot there. Set that there. Okay, so far we have almost 2 cups. We need 5 total. Time to head to the stove. We have our crushed fruit in the pot, and I'm gonna go ahead and add the package of pectin. Go ahead and just stir that here. And what we want to do here, we'll bring this to a full boil, and once it's boiling, then we'll add the sugar. So here we're waiting for this to come to a full rolling boil. This looks like it's getting super close. As soon as it is boiling all the way, we'll go ahead and add the sugar and then bring it back to a full boil. That is looking great. So we're gonna go ahead and add the sugar. And we'll want to stir constantly until that comes back to a boil, at which point we'll mark the timer for 1 minute. All right, we're getting super close now. I see it starting to boil. We want to make sure that it's boiling continuously so that I can't even stir it down. All right, we're gonna remove this from the heat and we will head to the next step. So now I've removed the jam from the heat, and you'll notice here that there's just a little bit of kind of a foam that's on top. So I'm just gonna carefully scrape that off and put it into a bowl. There's not a lot. Okay, so now that the foam's off of there, we are ready to put this jam into jars. So I get my jar set up and I have the funnel over the top. And then I'm just gonna use my scoop. If you have a ladle, you can use your ladle. Be very careful because this is going to be super hot. And then I'm going to fill it up so that there's a little bit of a gap up at the top. We want a little bit of headspace on those. So I'm just gonna do that until all of the jam is in jars. Okay, now that everything is in the jars, the next step is going to be to take a clean cloth. You can either use a regular cloth, or I just use a paper towel, and it's damp. We're gonna go ahead and wipe off the rim of the jars. This is going to help to make sure that there isn't any jelly. As you can see, I got some right there. We don't want any jelly stuck to the rim because that will prevent the lid from being able to seal. I have 11 full jars, so I'm going to go ahead and count out 11 lids. These come in a set of a dozen, so I'll just have one left. I want to make sure that they're not stuck together. Makes it easier when you're trying to take them out. Plus you want them all to get wet. I'll put those in the saucepan. I'm going to cover them with water, bring them to a boil, and then we'll be back to put them on the jar. So we brought the lids to a quick boil, and this is where this little gadget comes in super handy. I don't want to stick my hands in that water, so I can use that to grab my lid, and then I will quickly put the ring on tight. Do be careful because your jars are super hot and you want to make sure you don't burn yourself. We'll do that for each of the following. We've got lids and rings on everything and it's all ready to go. So now I'm going to empty out the rest of this hot water into the canner. I've already been preheating some water in the canner just because the jam is hot and I don't want to take the hot jars and put them in cold water or you'll end up with breakage. So you just have to be super careful about that. Since we're dealing with hot water and hot jars, I'm going to go ahead and use the jar lifter to put my jars into the water. This particular canner, I believe it holds about 14 of the half pints, which is really, really nice. It's a little bit more than a standard canner that you would put on the stove. Usually you can only get maybe 9 in those. And then you'll want your water to come up about 1 to 2 inches over the top of your jars. It looks like I probably have a little bit more water in here than I actually need, but it's not a big deal. We'll let it go at that. So I'm gonna put the lid on and then we will wait for it to come to a full boil. So after boiling this for 15 minutes, I am now going to take the jars out of the canner. You'll want to check with your local extension agency to find out exactly how long you want to or you need to process your whatever it is that you're canning. It will depend also on altitude as well, so just be aware of that. Hopefully we don't fog out the camera. Wow, look at how beautiful that is. I'm just putting these back on a towel or a placemat, whatever you have to protect your counter. Okay, and there we have the final product. Look at how beautiful that raspberry jam looks. I can't wait until it's ready to eat some. I'm going to let them sit here on the counter probably overnight, and then I will check to see if they've sealed. If they have all sealed, then I'll just label them and put them into the pantry. If they have not sealed, you have the option of either reprocessing, or if it's just one, you might even want to eat it right away. That concludes today's video. Thank you for joining me as I showed you how to can raspberry jam. I hope that you will feel like you can try this at your house. It really isn't as hard as people think that it is. So give it a try and let me know how it goes down in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video if it is something that you enjoy seeing. And then let me know down in the comments as well if there's something else that you would like to see me demonstrate how to can. So remember to live your very best balanced life, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.